What would you do in this situation?
I got you, my nigga. Never again, my nigga. Okay. Okay. Never again, my nigga. Okay.
Anytime you get pinned up against the wall, there's a couple things that you have to kind of pay attention to. And the biggest one is that your ability to maneuver is going to be limited depending on how I'm attacking you. Obviously, if I'm not holding you up against the wall, you're going to have the free ability to kind of move, twist, and turn. The only difference is you may not be able to press off the wall because I might try and cut you off and keep you on there, right? A two-hand choke type situation, which is another very common wall attack. I'm only controlling pretty much the neck up, which means he has the ability to pivot. He has the ability to utilize his hips a little bit more, which means when he's trying to disengage these grips, he has the ability to get a little bit more involved when it comes to his body. In this specific video, when they're grabbing you by the collar and driving you up with the shoulders, you still may be able to move a little bit, but it's definitely going to be limited because I'm literally controlling right across your center line and I'm controlling both shoulders. So if you try to turn one way or the other, I'm essentially keeping you up there, right? Now, if we're talking against like a bigger person to a smaller person, it's only going to be that much more difficult. Now, the biggest thing that people have to comprehend from this type of situation as we get into what we want to do from here is this is assault. This is now a fight at some point because this person is limiting my ability to get out of this situation. In this particular video, there's multiple people. We're not going to address that in this specific video, but just understand there's multiple people in the scenario, which means, again, if I start doing anything to him, there's a very good chance that their friends are going to start jumping in. So either way, we're fighting, but let's again refer to this as if it's just a one-on-one. I understand that, again, it's going to be very difficult for me to maneuver. So the one thing that I want to focus on is just landing a couple strikes right out of the gate. And the reason I want to do this is I want him to do all the work for me when it comes to me getting off the wall. And if I'm simply just landing like a simple 1-2 punch, if for whatever reason I hit him right on the button and I hit the right angle and the right amount of power, very well I could simply just knock him out or at least drop him a little bit to the point where I can just take off. But again, not everyone has that capability of doing so, but what I'm looking for is a reaction, and that reaction is one of two things. Either I'm going to land this 1-2 and he's going to start backing away from me, which if that's the case, I'm going to continue following because again, now he's leaving the wall, which allows me to now work off the wall, and I have to take advantage of that. So as I land this 1-2 and they start backing off, I'm going to continue to press in. The biggest thing that you have to do if you're in this situation is I'm not just going to continue driving straight into him. What I want to do is actually start kind of working off at an angle because again, my goal is to get off and away from the wall. So as I land this 1-2 and he starts backing off, I'm also going to kind of start working off at an angle. You can do this like simply with like that the triple jab, right? Land a 1-2, he backs off, jab, jab, jab as I start working off to cut an angle, and then from here, either I can continue working strikes or again, I just turn and book and get the hell out of there. But again, it's the idea that he's giving me the opening to get out rather than me trying to go, press up, rather than me trying to do all this stuff and push and do whatever here. I'm just landing a couple good strikes, get him to back off, and I take that as my opportunity. The second reaction that you're going to commonly get from this type of situation is when I land these strikes, two things. Either he's going to back off and then immediately drop and come right back in, or he's going to take those shots and immediately, duck his head and drive right back in and just slam you up against the wall. Now, as much as you may think, oh, this is a shittier position than you were in before, this actually gives me an opportunity to start working because now I have the ability to utilize my arms and shoulders at my free will. Yes, he's controlling me a little bit more towards my hips, but because I have access to my shoulders, I can start utilizing frames to create angles, which ultimately will allow me to trade positions and get him on the wall so that, again, I can work off. How do we do that? We do it through the use of creating these frames. So as he's driving into me, sure, maybe he's throwing punches to my stomach, whatever, that's, besides the point. I can also do the same thing and work a couple strikes, which is great. But again, the chances of me landing good strikes from this angle that are going to end the fight are going to be very slim. So instead, what I want to focus my energy on is, again, looking to trade our position. So as I start kind of working these frames, what I'm looking to do is get some form of an underhook. And as I get that underhook, I want to start working my hips out to the same side. And as I start shifting my hips there, I start driving my arm through to get his body starting to turn the other way. Now, obviously, this isn't going to be an easy fight. They're going to be driving back into you, trying to keep you up against the wall. So go ahead, pressure. As he's fighting and we're pressuring, all I'm looking to do is get my hips away, get this deep underhook so that I can ultimately drive him back into the wall, however I may end up doing so. And again, from here, now we have options. I can right away just start kind of working a few strikes, which isn't a bad idea because, again, I don't want to do this and then just completely let go because chances are they're going to come right at you swinging. So when you get them up into this position, it's not a bad idea to kind of just work a couple strikes depending on what's available. And then from there, even maybe just kind of check them into the wall a little bit. And once again, we turn and burn. So in like a Cliff Notes version, right? Two options that we have from here. When they're driving you up against this, don't worry about so much the arms. Understand that you should be in range to hit them because, again, no one's going to be like holding you from out here. He's going to be driving up into it like exactly like it's shown in this video. So it's going to give me an opportunity where, again, I have the ability to use my arms. I might as well just, and again, maybe a 1-2 here, maybe it's an uppercut. It's all just going to kind of depend on how open or close his elbows are. But either way, 2 hard hits. Just go for a 1-2 right out of the gate. If he backs off, I immediately pressure in and we start cutting an angle. If I land those strikes and he drops and drives back into me, then right away, again, get heavy on those hips so that they can't pull your hips out. Start working your frames right away. Again, add in strikes as needed. Look to secure that underhook. And then again, as we're fighting, looking to transfer, pin up against the wall. Obviously, the more experience you have with combat sports in general, you're gonna be better able to control this position and keep them pinned up against the wall long enough and safe enough to where he doesn't just switch you right back, but also where I can get off safely. Now, one thing I do want to add that you can kind of do as a bonus, which again, if we're pinned up against the wall, you do have the ability to utilize the wall to your advantage in a couple ways. One is launching off the wall, right? So if I land these strikes and he backs away a little bit, now this could be a wall, car, fence, glass window, it doesn't matter. My near side leg, I want to post kind of up on the wall. Now, I'm not looking to do Superman punch. What I'm looking to do is utilize this to drive off and pressure into him, but also it gives me the ability to create a lot of space. Because again, you might have a situation where I land a 1-2 and I come and take like a small step and they just drive right back in and are right back up against the wall. So when I come off, I need to create that space as much as possible. So as I do those strikes, I can place that foot and literally just kind of launch at them a little bit. Again, whether I land a strike or not, it's just allowing me to create a little bit more space out of the gate. So utilize that wall. If we're kind of doing this like a full speed, it'd be like a 1-2, he backs off a little bit, push, and I'm literally just driving off the wall into it. The other way that we have to utilize the wall is when we're actually trading places, right? I'm not just gonna kind of casually transition and do this. I'm gonna use the wall to my advantage. So if we're in a position where I see like his face is facing the wall, I can grab and just slam him into the wall a couple times. And now as I turn and drive him in, again, anytime I hit him, now he's also hitting his head into the wall. Now, obviously, you're gonna have to understand what the legal repercussions are for this. So this type of situation will have to call for you to use this level of force. But again, if it calls for it, then you might as well utilize it. One last thing about this video, if we backtrack a little bit, there actually was one other opportunity where this kid actually had to get off the wall without having to worry about the 1-2. And that's when this guy lets go of his arm to smack him across the face.
Okay, I got you, my nigga. Okay.
Now, the moment this happens, I'm gonna feel a release and pressure on the right side of my body or whatever side it is that he's grabbing. If I'm aware enough and I react accordingly, I can take advantage of this immediately because again, now I have the ability to completely maneuver. And what happens is as I actually start coming off and he drives back in with this arm, he's actually turning my body more and allowing me to actually come off a little bit harder and faster. So the moment this hand releases, I can grab and I can literally either just kind of ridge hand across and use this again as a strike, as also as a pivot to get him back on the wall, or I use this as an opportunity to immediately kind of crash into him, tie up with him, and then once again, we learn to kind of break free and get off the wall. So at the end of the day, understand that even if this doesn't seem like a violent fight because maybe he hasn't hit you or struck you yet, anytime I'm being prevented from moving and I'm pinned up against a hard surface, especially if there's multiple other people in front of me and they're not allowing you to move, you're in a fight. So you might as well handle the situation. Again, I'm not telling you to do a ton of damage, just enough to get this person to back off to where, again, I can create the space, get off the wall, and we can get away to safety. Give it a shot, stay safe.